Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the GC Children's Conference, Day 2. I'm Monica Shrestha from Q Design and I'm accompanied by my colleague Adish Gurung. We will be your technical facilitators today. Please note that the session today is recorded and live streamed. We also have interpretation in Armenian, Nepali, Arabic, Hindi, and English today. To turn on interpretation, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of your Zoom window and select language of choice. To ensure that the interpretation is effective, when you're speaking, please make sure to speak slowly. If you have any questions about Zoom or require technical assistance, please feel free to raise your hand or drop a message into the chat box. I will now hand over to Reina. Reina, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica, for that introduction. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so pleased that we made it to the second day. Yesterday was really a packed day. We covered a lot of ground in both sessions, really. Today will be a little bit more relaxed. It's not as packed as schedules. So I think we can really start focusing on taking what we were talking about yesterday to the next level, to really finding ways together to implement ideas and make a difference. I'd like to invite our colleague Mike Hayes just to give a few welcoming words as a council member from the Global Campus of Human Rights and from our APMA team as well. Please, Mike.
So thanks, Raina, and hello everyone, and welcome to the second day. So my name's Mike Hayes, and I'm the director of the Asia Pacific program of the Global Campus. I'm based in Bangkok, where I teach human rights at a university here. We teach masters and PhDs in human rights. And I just want to give a couple of words about this conference. Firstly, from yesterday was such a important and lively and vibrant day, and the discussion was very interesting. And I was caught off guard actually by just how kind of interested I was in it, and just how it was such an experience, experience for me personally, because I think being an academic, as most academics, for us it was a real lesson in listening. That often we talk a lot, and we're good at giving lectures, but we don't really kind of think much about the listening that we have to do. And then listening to all the young people, the youth and the kids, and what they were talking about yesterday, for me was really important, because you tend to forget that and especially in human rights, that listening is an important part of that. We don't, as academics, we don't tend to listen that much, and particularly to some audiences like children, I don't think we listen as much. So, sometimes for children, we assume that, well, because we're kids once, even I was a child a very long time ago, we tend to think, oh, we know all about this, but really we don't. And that's what I found yesterday. There's so many new issues that children today and youth today are facing a very different world. And that we forget that we do need to learn about these things. And so I think that was a really important thing for me, just how important it is to have venues like this where, people like academics can listen. And so also just in terms of human rights, because we base so much of our human rights and ideas of accessibility and inclusion and acceptance and participation. But we forget to kind of like walk the walk. We forget to do it. And that why it was an important thing yesterday that we could actually practice this as well. And I think secondly, in terms of the of this dialogue, it's really important because in terms of being from one generation passing on to the next generation, that we're kind of passing on a world to the youth today in very terrible shape. We're passing on a world that's going through a climate crisis. We're passing on a world that's going through a democratic crisis. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the coup. And we know much of what's been going on of the coup in Myanmar. and much of the protest has been led by children. Children have been at the forefront. Children have been killed in terms of the military crackdown on that protest. Same in Thailand. We have youth who are now being charged and put into jail because of their protests, and often their protests are about youth activism. We have COVID and the health crisis. So as a generation, we are kind of passing down one world to the youth today in very bad shape, and we should really be, doing much more about that. And so I think that's important. And also, sorry, 1 second. This is, someone's just knocking on the door. Hang on. This is a kind of a youth thing that my kids always order stuff from the delivery people and they leave the house when the delivery comes, so I've got to pay the person. So sorry about this. That time? Oh. Huh? Kiba. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Now, so what I was just talking about was that we're leaving the world in a very terrible place. And this is also, I think, relevant to mental health here as well, that there are so many pressures on young people today. As we see with all these kind of crises, that there is a real need for mental health. And as was talked about yesterday, that the issue of mental health gets sidelined, it gets pushed to the extremes, it gets ignored, it gets downplayed, when it should be much more important. We tend to think of mental health as a weakness or as a foreign thing, or as a Western thing, or as just as an excuse for other things. We could be taking it much more seriously. And I think that it's also important because mental health is like a symptom of these larger problems as well. And we have all the climate crisis and things like that. But also, it's a kind of a symptom of there is too much structural violence in society, whether it's in schools or whether it's in homes or whether it's in society, that structural violence is going to be, mental health becomes a symptom of that. That it is a symptom of gender inequalities as well. That it is a symptom of things like, the lack of democracy. It is a symptom of the exploitation of, say, youth labor. All these kinds of things and all these pressures are part of the mental health problem. And it's not simply just we can give counselling to fix up mental health. I think we've also got to look at the larger problems which are causing mental health and for them to be addressed as well. So I think, from the lesson of yesterday was really that there's much more that can be done in the area of mental health. And I'm looking forward today to address more about that. And so thanks for this opportunity to give this opening talk. Apologies about the interruption, but that's online life. So that's just what happens. Okay, I'll pass it back to you, Raina.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mike. And for a reminder of kind of why we're all here is, really to listen, to be inspired by all of the children that we've been engaging with and the young people. It is really, as Mike said yesterday, was a real eye-opener to many people as to what needs to be done and what could be done, the potential we have as a network to really make a difference together with working with young people. I would like to ask Monica just to start up a video from the UN Secretary General that we've been sent a quick message about mental health and the violence against children. Thank you, Monica.
Half of the world's children experience violence in some form every year. It occurs in many settings, both online and offline. And violence has devastating and lifelong consequences for children's mental health. But mental health services have long suffered from neglect and underinvestment. Too few children get the services they need. The COVID-19 pandemic has magnified the problem. Millions of children are out of school, increasing their vulnerability to violence and mental stress, while services have been cut or moved online. As we consider investing in a strong recovery, support for children's mental well-being must be a priority. I also urge governments to take a preventive approach by addressing the determinants of mental well-being through robust social protection for children and families. Mental health and psychosocial support and community-based approaches to care are integral to universal health coverage. They cannot be its forgotten part. I also urge those in authority to take children's views and experiences into account. Children play an important role in supporting each other's mental well-being. They must be empowered as part of the solution. Let's work together for sustainable, people-centered, resilient societies where all children live free from violence and with the highest standards of mental health. Thank you.
So one thing that struck me from that message there is when the Secretary General Antonio Guterres says that children needs to be empowered. But I think everybody here would agree is that the children and the young people are actually empowering us and invigorating us to do more. And yesterday, we talked a lot about what the problems are, what needs to be done. And today we're trying to find ways forward, what will be done and what we hope we will be able to do. And just for a quick reminder of everything that we've done yesterday, I'd like to invite Regina from Nepal and John Paul from the Global Campus headquarters, just to give us a quick summary of the highlights and some of the key arguments that were made yesterday. If I can give over to you, Regina and John Paul. Thank you very much. Is Regina here? I saw her before, but maybe she got kicked off line.
She says she can't unmute, so she might need to be given permission.
Ah, right. Any help from your side, Monica?
Yeah, I've just asked her to unmute, but looks like there is some issue. Regina, you might need to rejoin.
So we'll just give it a few seconds. Yeah, she's rejoining already. Hopefully that'll work now. Is it working now, Regina?
Yes.
Excellent. Brilliant. Over to you.
So once again, hello everyone. Namaste. Hope that you are all perfectly fine after yesterday's session. And it's again so good to see all of this charming and emerging face, energetic face. So it's me, Regina Ghartimagar from Nepal, and I'm the moderator of this reminder session. And let me quickly introduce my co-moderator, my Mr. Amazing and so energetic one, Mr. John Paul. And we are the co-moderating the reminder session. So before going to the reminder session, I want to do one activity with all of you guys. So let's do our activity. The thing is, like, you have to give one word or you have to summarize the whole session till now in just giving a one word, that how you feel about the sessions, workshop, discussion, about the moderation and about the whole conference, just within a one word. So I like to start from myself. So I felt it so fruitful. So I think it won't be able that it will be too much time consuming if we're gonna do one by one by unmuting. So I like to request all the participants to use the chat box. And our technicians will keep that note, keep the note of that all those words that come from every participant, so we can do the improvement in further days. So okay, there are lots of coming: hopeful, inspiring, resourceful, empowering, encouraging, energetic. So many reactions coming up. Excellent, novel, motivational. Okay. Till now, that all the who were not finishing up, they will just keep on typing or doing the chat on that just one more. So till that, I like to go forward. So as we discuss about the main theme, and now we are totally clear about our main theme, that mental health. We are breaking the stereotype and stigma that we used to have, that mental health is not the topic to discuss openly with all the people, that you need to be healthy yourself, not discussing your problem with others. So first of all, a big round of applause to all of us, that we are breaking that stereotype and we are working together. And within that three session that we done, based on that lack of mechanism and violence against the children, and yes, obviously to the unhealthy competition, that the major thing we see, that the requirement and the causes, what's going on, and the effects that's happening to the children as well as to the adults in this COVID period or in the general time also. So we have discussed so many things, and the major points we came up with, the one is that I genuinely feel is everyone talk about the awareness. Yeah, so for that, and we are discussing the topic, but we will let not go or let not leave it by only discussing. So today in this session, like in today's session, we're gonna discuss about further solution, and further about the our commitments, like how and what we can do for from our level to control it, or to further solve it, or to ensure the mental health of each of us. So that is the thing. Now I'd like to pass over to my co-moderator John Paul.
Thank you very much, Regina, for the introduction. It was amazing. I am John Paul from the Global Campus, and I'll try to give a summary of the highlights that we had yesterday, which are points for us to reflect on while leveraging on the resources that we have to be able to create a new dynamism, which is action-oriented. There are 9 main elements which we thought should be points to ponder at that ensued from yesterday's discussions. The first one is that mental health of children is one of the most neglected issues. Secondly, mental health care needs to be identified as a life-saving priority for children. Then we also need to deal with the cultural specificities of mental related issues that affect children. This will include their family background, the social norms, attitudes, religion, and behaviors, to be able to tackle these mental health issues in a case management form. Mental health, too, as we discussed yesterday, is a right for children just as much as it is a right for adults. And that mental health affects boys and girls in different ways. These are supposed to be taken into consideration. And our children told us yesterday that it affects adolescents in a very particular way, and that if we are to develop strategies and actions to tackle this, then adolescents should be a focus for us. And then the children in their discussion yesterday reminded us that we need a paradigm shift, a move from negative mindset towards a positive And particularly during the COVID situation, where one of our experts told us that we need a positive mindset to be able to know that COVID would one day pass and that everything will come back to normal. It is incumbent on us to make children feel that way. And then children and adolescents have a unique way of seeing things. They see things from a very original perspective. And that means that their ideas, their opinions, and their views need to be taken into account, especially on issues that concerning them. And so that for us to be able to tackle mental health issues on children, then we are supposed to consult on them. One of the very preoccupying questions that came up from yesterday's discussions too was, who is to do what on these mental health issues? Is it parents? Is it teachers? Is it the government? Or is it the children themselves who are supposed to be at the forefront of this fight for a healthy mental state for children? And then we ended up by doing a quick reflection on unhealthy competition. Unhealthy competition. How do we deal with these challenges of unhealthy competition? Should it be the teachers? Should it be the parents? Should it be society in itself? And as one of our children rightly put it, comparing apples to oranges. How is this improving on the mental health of children? And so these summarily, Regina, if you have something you always could add, but these summarily were some of the things that we picked up from your discussions yesterday, which should usher us towards an action-oriented thinking today. Back to you, Regina. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you cover all the things, like all the things that we discussed and all the major points that came up from yesterday's discussion. And yes, basically the surface thing or the major things, points that need to be further work on for the action plans and for today that we're gonna do today has been discussed yesterday also, not in detail, but yet come the subject, because we said that in education mechanism that learning and teaching mechanisms should be changed, and the need of counselor in each school and involvement of mental health within the curriculum. And yes, obviously, first of all, children and each of us need to be have acknowledgement about the violences, because many children don't know about the violences as well, that whether what they are suffering from or going through. So they need to be clear about what violence and what should they do when they suffer from it. So about that thing. And yes, obviously that we each of us need to be responsible from our side, should contribute from our level. And yeah, initiation of changements and improvements should be done from us, then we can point out on others. And it should be started from our own home, then only we can upgrade it to the society, to the whole country, or in school and in worldwide level. So that's it. And I request and I hope that every participants will feel amazing today's session. Also, will do, work together with much more energy, and because there are lots of things to do, and together we adults and children can do it. And yes, once again, thank you to the Global Campus and Kathmandu Law College that they are providing us this opportunity. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. We hand it back to Reina.
How can I follow that with anything nearly as inspiring? You summed up the day perfectly, and I can just repeat what I said a moment ago, that we've covered so much ground, which is so clear from what you've just summarized, and that's just a summary. We've got a lot on our plate still today, though, because we want to work out what needs to be done. And we've got a good agenda set where the next session will be breakout sessions, where the young people will be divided into breakout groups to really discuss among themselves. first and foremost. Before later on, we join back in the plenary to work together to listen to the ideas that came up from the breakout groups and discuss further. To give a little bit more of a detailed overview and an introduction to what we will done in this practical, let's call it a workshop session, the children predominantly, I invite Victor, please, just to take the floor and give a few words.
Thank you, and welcome again, everyone. Good to see you back in the session today. Let me pick up on what Regina said. The mood that we need now is enthusiasm and to work hard. So that's what we're going to do in the next session, because we are now going to look at, after all the discussion we had yesterday and the many contributions and inputs that we received, what do we need to do? Who is going to do what? So that's what we're going to do in the next session. Just a few points to think about as we go into our group. The first question some of you may ask is, why do we need an action plan after a conference like this? There are so many conferences that I attended as well, which has no action plan. Yeah. But we want to do it differently. We want to convert our rich discussion yesterday at the conference into concrete action. We want to help you, children and young people, to take action on mental health and well-being in your own situations. It might be your school, it might be your family, your community, your society, with whichever environment that you work in. We want to facilitate the support that the global campus, all the collaborating partners, the experts and other adults who joined us. How can we support you? But also important is, it's an excellent opportunity with a plan to make connections with other young people, with child rights organizations, youth networks, and experts on mental health. So that's why we need an action plan. Now, to make it easier for us, and that all of us work consistently in the 4 groups that we're going to break up into, we prepared a short matrix that you should have a copy of, where basically we have listed the 3 topics that we discussed yesterday. And under each topic, the first question is, what needs to be done? What action do we need to carry out? And at what level? Is it at local level? Is it in my family, my school, my community? Or is it at a regional level? Or even at a global level? So local, national, regional, that we leave to you. Maybe not more than 3, because that makes it, we have only a limited amount of time. So 2 or 3 action points for the first topic. Then next, for those action points, who needs to do what? What should governments do, NGOs, etc.? If you have some idea, you could mention when this needs to be done, because there are some things that are urgent, immediate, that we have to act upon. So we can mention this needs to be done immediately. This is going to take a long time. So maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. But most important, I've included another column, because these action plans are your action plans. So how can you, as children and young people, contribute to those actions? We just don't want to depend on governments. We just don't want to depend on NGOs. We just don't want to depend on adults. We need you as children to be part of the action plan. So you can also say, this is what we would like to do as children. So for each of the topic areas, 2 or 3 action plans, and try to spell out as much as you can given the time. It would be good if you can cover all the 3 areas. And there's a column at the end if you want to include anything more, you are most welcome to do so. So that's the plan. Let me just stop that. Yes. Okay. So we're going to divide into 4 groups. These are going to be country groups. So Lebanon, the children in Lebanon, the children of Armenia, the children in Nepal, and the children in India. So all the rest of us are going to be observers. We will come back after a break of about 35 minutes or so, and we will then introduce the reports from your groups. Now, when you get into the groups, it will be good if you can facilitate the discussion and one of you just input into the matrix. So when you come back, we'll give you sharing screen. You can present the matrix with your key points. Now, write the thing in your own language if you want. Okay, because we have translation, and I hope our translators can help us to read the text in the matrix. So write in your own language if you think that is easier. If not, to the extent possible, please use English in the matrix. So that's the session for the next round in this conference. Raina, anything more to add before we break into the groups?
Yes, if I can just ask for all the children here today, just so that our technical people can identify you easily, if you can put up your hand so that you can be put into the breakout group, and if you can also add to your name what country you're representing, so that will make it a bit easier. And if you put up your hand, you jump up to the top, and we can immediately see you. The adults will have a little bit of a resting time because the breakout sessions are just for the children and the regional facilitators. We then ask the adults to please really do come back in about 40 minutes. You will hear my booming voice calling you as soon as we're all back in the room. So I really ask you just to do that. I know it's tempting to turn off the computer and go somewhere else, but if you can stay online so we can call you back when the children come back. Again, if I can just ask all the kids to raise their hands and help the technical people to put you into your respective groups. That's all that I would add. No?
Yeah.
Raina, can I have a suggestion in terms of the breakout groups? Maybe we can do it country by country. It will be easier. We can call the countries and then you can put them in a group rather than to raise everybody's hands. You can call for example, the Armenian group will raise hand and you will put it then. Yeah.
Okay, that's maybe a better idea. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very constructive. Thank you, Miriam, as always.
Raina, we also have all the breakout rooms ready. So what we can do is we can start the breakout rooms, and if there are anyone remaining, they can raise their hand.
They can join them later.
Just before you do that, I just want to ask if everything is clear to the young people.
Yeah. Any questions?
On
the guidance? Because now's a good time to clarify. Any questions?
Just speak up. You don't have to wait us to call on you if you've got any questions. Yeah? Okay. And in the meantime, also for the adults here today, I just want to remind you that we do have a Padlet. We will post the link in the chat as soon as possible, where I really would like to invite you to contribute to the discussion there, add your thoughts. This is maybe a really opportune moment for you to have a look into the Padlet. We've got various documents in many languages there, and it's also a place where to brainstorm and just drop in thoughts that we will also take further after the conference in connection with what the young people come up with. So that's maybe a nice to do in this 40 minutes where the children break out.
That's homework for the adults.
Homework for the adults, yeah. Excellent. So, Monica, there are no questions, it seemed. Everything is clear. Carry on putting people in the breakup groups.
Should we then also stop the live session for now? Monica or Raina, what do you think?
Sorry?
We don't need to go live for that long.
Can you stop and restart? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
we can pause it. Yeah, you can pause live, I think.